Luke, great to see you. First of all, how's things over there in Australia?
Going really good, thanks, Phil. I think our lockdown laws are a lot more relaxed than they are over there in the UK. I've been playing plenty of golf, which is a big hobby of mine. So we've been managing to get out on the course quite regularly, which has been good. The homeschooling's been a bit of a challenge. That lasted about 2 weeks. But yeah, apart from that, everything's going really well.
And in terms of the NRL's coming back next week, there's been a big push to get the competition restarted over there.
Yeah, there has, and I think it's a big play by the NRL too. And it's probably, if it all goes to plan and we don't have any issues with players contracting the coronavirus, I think could potentially be a massive play for the sport. Obviously, there's no live sport being shown anywhere in the world at the moment. Live sport back on TV, so we might try and attract a few more viewers that probably would have never watched NRL in the past. So it's a big play. Peter V'landys, he's doing a fantastic job, and me myself, I can't wait to see the NRL back up and running.
And your life now is in Australia. You moved over there from the Rhinos a few years back. Do you consider yourself an Aussie now?
Oh, look, I'll always be English. I'm very proud of my heritage, and people always ask me the question, is your daughter English or is she Australian? In my eyes, she's English, but the truth is she's Australian. She's got 2 passports, English and Australian, so she's quite lucky. Me myself, at the moment, I'm a permanent resident, so I'll still keep the British one as well.
In terms of when you moved over there, I mean, obviously Sam was already over there at that stage, but the chance to go and play in the NRL was I remember at the time was a huge draw for you and a huge ambition of yours.
It was. I remember Sam and I came to Australia in 2008 on a holiday, doing some backpacking up and down the East Coast, and we spent some moments together where we looked at how beautiful the beaches were and the lifestyle, and we talked about how good would it be to come over here and play in the NRL, and so that was 2008. I think I moved over in June 2011. So we actioned that pretty quickly and never looked back since. Really, we've all had children over here, so our long-term futures is definitely in Australia.
And looking back on your career, having come through the ranks at the Rhinos, how much did you enjoy your time at the club?
Absolutely loved the Rhinos, and I was so fortunate that I came through as a young kid. I came through a system that was like a group core of senior players. So I was lucky that I learned from such a great bunch of players. Our core consisted at the time, it was like Kev, Danny, Rob Burrow, we had Jamie Peacock, and we had the likes of the senior boys coming from overseas, Ali Lawatiti, Clinton Tupy, Brent Webb. Our core group was just so good, and for me, I tasted success early on in my career at a young age. We won grand finals in 2008 and 2009, and to achieve that at the start of my career was pretty special. And I learned a lot about culture and how a good culture drives success in a club, and we certainly had that at Leeds. And it's something that I've always tried to instill. Clubs that I've moved on to following the Rhinos.
And then when you went over to the NRL, how did you find that experience playing over in the NRL?
It was unbelievable. I remember I signed mid-season, so I flew over, and then I think the following week I made my debut, which was perfect. Getting fitted straight in and getting thrown in at the deep end, which for me was perfect. I managed to taste a bit of the NRL towards the end of the 2011 season. I think I played the last 10 games that year, and then that led me into a pre-season to start then moving forward. And
then, of course, there was that iconic picture with the 4 of you playing together as well. That must have been a real special moment.
Yeah, that was amazing. As a family, that's something that we'll treasure forever. The time before I moved here, Sam and George were already over here. George was playing in the reserve grade, playing in our under-20s. Sam was injured at the time, so in my first year, I never played with any of the boys, and Sam got back fit for the following year. Then I think I got injured just towards the end of the pre-season, so I missed the start of the 2012 season. And eventually George, Sam, and I all played together that year, and Tommy signed the following year for the 2013 season, and that's when we like you said, that pretty well known picture of all four of us after the first time we all played together. It was a real special moment for our family, and one that we'll treasure forever, and probably look back on a lot more now that we're Sam and I especially, now that we're retired, we can look back on these things and really appreciate some of the things that we've achieved along the way.
And now Tom's last man standing.
Yeah, Tom's the last man standing. Obviously, Sam's retired, as we all know. George is over there in England playing for Wigan. I'm not too sure how much longer this competition is going to be suspended over there, but Tommy's they're back playing in a couple of weeks. We've got the Roosters are Friday week, so he's the only one playing at the moment.
And those games against the Roosters are always fierce affairs. So even without any crowd, you can still see that's gonna go off.
Yeah, it certainly will. Especially, I think all the players will have a bit of an appetite now for some contact and some football. So that should be an absolute cracker. And it's quite funny with no crowd, so you might hear a bit of the abuse that's getting exchanged between the players. So that might be.
South's a good family club. They look after their people. Delph and Sam are on the staff now. You still got that close connection to the club.
Yeah, I do. And Souths have always been known as the almost like the Battlers Club. Our fans have supported us through thick and thin, and I guess that's sort of reflected in the way that the club runs. And we like to look after our ex-players. I know when Russell signed all four of me and my brothers, that was doing it within the club and try and create that family environment. We've always been fairly big on including the players' wives and families, and that's some food here. Myself, Sam, John Sutton, Greg Inglis, all working for the club. Nathan Merritt was working there for a while, and Roy Asatasi. The club offer a pretty good pathway for those players that are retiring. Help them transition into the working life, which is a good asset to have.
You mentioned GI there. He's coming over to Super League next season with Warrington. You know him well. You're pleased to see him back on the field.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, everyone loves to see GI out on the field doing his thing. He's had an absolutely amazing career over here in Australia, and I was pretty shocked when I saw the news. So, I think a lot of players sometimes get a bit misinformed about the Super League comp, and they get quite a bit of a shock when they realise just how tough the competition is over there. So I'm sure GI is going to approach this in a professional manner. He's like I said, his career over here has been amazing. I was lucky enough to play alongside GI, and some of the things he used to do on the field were just unbelievable. So I can't wait to see him doing that next year over there in the Super League. I'm sure the Pommies are going to love having GI in town.
And as a player, I'm sure you can sympathise with. He was forced into retirement through injury there a couple of years ago. The fact that he's going to be able to finish on the field and do it where all players want to do it, go out on their own terms.
I think that's the confusing thing about GI's retirement. He actually wasn't. I don't think he was forced into a medical retirement. It was almost a voluntary retirement, just because he wanted a little bit of time off. He wanted to. I think he was dealing with a few personal things, and it was more he'd had enough of the game, and he just wanted to take a step away and take some time out. So physically, I don't think that's an issue. It was more he just wanted to freshen up mentally, and it looks like he's done that now. I've seen him a fair bit. Well, before we were stood down for the COVID crisis, we used to see him bouncing around. Looked like he got a bit of his mojo back. So that could be good for Warrington.
And we're catching up with former Leeds players to ahead of the NRL return next week, and we're asking each player to be an ambassador for their club. That's your day job anyway. But tell us why Rhinos fans should be shouting for Souths come next week and the restart of the NRL.
Well, I think the simple answer there is, I used to play for the Rhinos, moved over to play for South. There's also 3 of my brothers there, which are all English. You know, the English connection to Australia, I think, get behind South and cheer the boys on. There's this exciting young talent coming through, so it could be exciting to watch. But tend to find a lot of English people in Australia are drawn towards South Sydney, I think. And normally when we bump into those people, it's mainly down to the fact that they've got the English connection. So that's always nice to hear. So yeah, get behind the bunnies, and we'll see if we can get Rusty to send some South gear over. Who knows?
And we know Tommy's a massive Rhinos fan anyway.
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, of course he is. Well, we've got Matt Lewis. He's a big Rhinos fan, as everyone knows. Russell Crowe with South. Maybe we ought to do something about that. What do you reckon?
Absolutely, yeah. A big biopic. The Luke
Yeah.
Burgess
Well, I remember
story.
actually when Matt was over here he had to do a premiere for one of the Harry Potter movies. He was over here on, I think Warner Brothers were paying for his trip, and he came over with a friend, and we got him down to training and kitted him Rhinos gear with some South gear. Got him a member. I think Russell wanted to do that. I remember all the boys were freaking out that Neville Longbottom was turning up to training, so they were quite happy about that. And then Sam and I took him out into King's Cross and showed him a good time on the Warner Brothers bill, of course.